Unemployed and Afraid acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this episode on and of the land where you, the listener, are tuning in from. We would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and extend our respect to any First Nations, Aboriginal, and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today, acknowledging that this always was and always will be Aboriginal land.
Welcome to Unemployed and Afraid, a podcast that explores the messy middle of being out on your own and starting over with the people who've done it. I'm your host, Kim Curtin. Thank you for being here. Let's get into today's story of starting over.
Welcome back to Unemployed and Afraid for a big whack of inspiring stories on the gloriously challenging journey of creating and sustaining a business and brand. Today, I have the most wonderful supporter of the show and longtime listener, Tessa Marie. So what a privilege it is to speak with her about her journey on the very show that she supports. It just gives me all the feels. And we quote a previous guest, the fabulous Mary Dwyer and Alicia from The Social Impact. I mean, I just love this community we're creating, guys. Thank you so very much for showing up for yourself and to tune in today. Right, let's get into it. Tessa and I cover quite a bit today, from her challenging health scare that delivered her a shake-up on top of the shake-up of COVID. We talk about following your interests to see where they lead and how they might grow your business offering, getting in flow, finding your tribe, and creating based on how it feels in your own unique body. We're bringing big, high-energy vibes today. I hope you enjoy Tessa's wonderful story of starting over.
Tessa Marie Bartholomew is an intuitive abstract landscape artist based in the gorgeous Adelaide Hills. As a big lover of colour, she explores unexpected colour palettes that contrast and bring new life to a composition, painting stunning large-scale acrylic on canvas pieces, and has recently started dabbling in the urban art scene, painting murals around Adelaide. Art has been part of her life for a long time, but only recently a full-time career focus. And it's brought her so much joy over the years that she's now sharing the love, hosting intuitive painting classes for adults to get back in touch with their own playful creative side, to dance, to paint, and to enjoy the process. Her love and passion for creating art is infectious, and she's gloriously honest about the challenges of investing in your passions to grow them into a career, to just own it and make the thing that you want to make. Tessa, I cannot wait to hear all about your journey into going a full-time artist. Welcome to Unemployed and Afraid.
Thank you, Kim. Oh, what an epic intro. It's like, that's me, yes.
I love that. And you are so colourful and fabulous right now. There's a beautiful painting behind you, and you are just the absolute picture of colour. It's making me feel a little self-conscious about my all black with sometimes navy situation. But so just to kick us off a little bit to get started, and as a much loved and highly appreciated long-time listener to this podcast, which just gives me so much joy to have listeners come on and share their story as part of this gorgeous community we're creating. So given that you've listened, you'll be well prepared for this one. So tell me, how would your best friend describe you?
Yes, I was hoping you'd ask me that. Because I did ask her, and then I was like, you're going to throw me a curly one. So I did ask her. I've actually known my best friend since I was 5 years old. She was actually my first friend I ever made at primary school. She was playing Chasey around a table with a girl, and I was like, can I play? So yeah, Caitlin, she's a good egg. So she would describe me as being very loyal. She's lovely. The life of the party, which I totally am. If there's music on, I will be up and dancing. And also someone that includes everyone. I just try and make everyone feel welcome. And yeah, that was really nice that she kind of saw those qualities in me. And I think that that's perfectly how I would describe myself as well. So yeah, I'm a party starter, but probably not a party finisher.
That's relatable.
Oh yeah. Like love dancing, but I can't sustain it all night.
Was it a nice exercise to have her share some of those thoughts on there? I just imagine it would be like a nice bonding moment.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was just through a text message. I'm like, hey, just something quickly. Like, we didn't want to get too emotional.
Maybe it's something we should all do as we finish listening to this episode. Go text our mates and be like, yo, how do you describe me?
I think so. I think just anyone just knowing how you kind of, I guess, not really caring what other people think too much, but knowing how you appear to others, it can be a little bit of an ego boost as well, but it can be a bad thing.
True.
But I think it's nice to know how, if you think that of yourself, if you're actually showing that to other people as well, which can be really nice. So yeah, I'm just going to ask everyone.
So Tessa, take me way on back. Let's go all the way back in your career journey. Before you were the artist that we're meeting today, who were you?
Yeah, gosh, way back. So I studied graphic design when I left high school. So this is back. I took a gap year, went to Europe with my best mate, the same chick I was talking about before, and came back, went to uni. I really wanted to study visual art. And even the high school I went to, I played violin from the age of 6, and I went to a special music school. So I actually got a scholarship to go to this school. But I even remember in the interview, so I had an interview to go to high school, audition, violin. I was actually saying to them, I really want to go here because the art program is really good. And I remember my mum like mimicking behind, doing like the violin kind of thing. You need to talk about music. And so it was from the age of 12 that I was so passionate about art, but I kind of didn't know, and I was blocking it and thinking, oh, it's just a hobby. So graduated high school, had kind of given away music, not completely. I still have my violin buried under the bed. I haven't touched it in a while, collecting dust. And yeah, I wanted to go to uni and do visual arts, but I didn't, because I thought graphic design, more options. I've got to, learn the technology, get up with the times. Is art going to make me money? Probably not. Like all those limiting beliefs and the stories that we get told. So I did design. That was 3 years. It was good. The first year was a bit weird though. We didn't use computers at all. It was all manual, using a photocopier, doing hand lettering, all this stuff that initially we were like, what is this? We want to use a computer. This is weird, but it actually set the whole tone for everything. It made me look at things differently. I remember we had an accidental mark project. So we had to look for accidental marks in environments and just everything. So it just made me look at the whole world a little bit differently. So I really, really liked the first year of that course. And then we started to use computers and, everything got a little bit lost in that. And then I did an internship with a design agency, a sustainable design agency. So I've always been very passionate about sustainability. And through that, all I was talking about was visual merchandising and how I was helping promoting. So I worked in a cafe at the time and I was doing their shop windows, and I was like, Valentine's Day, I can make all these decorations and I can make this and this. And the guy who I was doing the internship with said, I think maybe you should look into visual merchandising because you seem really passionate about that. And I started looking at courses, and there was a course in Melbourne. I actually wanted to move to Melbourne to do visual arts when I did graphic design, actually. So I was like, Melbourne always had this kind of pull towards me. So I went to Melbourne and did visual merchandising at RMIT, and then started working in corporate events. I had a few little jobs here and there. I did like styling and worked for Maya Burke Street in their visual merchandising team for a little bit, but retail I don't know, I just didn't really align with retail. I felt like I was manipulating people to buy things that they don't need. And I did a Boxing Day at my Burke Street, and that was just a nightmare, cleaning up after people. And I just felt like a bit of a glorified cleaner, in all honesty. Like I was just cleaning up t-shirts, like just people were just it was like bringing out the worst in humanity. It was really, really not good to see that. So I was like, all right, I don't think I want to work here anymore. And I did work in retail when I was studying as well at a shop called Mozzie. I don't know if you know that shop. It's a homewares, really bright and colourful homewares brand, which really, really fit my personality. And when I just went to Melbourne Central and just handed out my resume to places. And this was the only place I actually ended up handing my resume out to, because it was the only place that I actually liked. And the manager just said, I think I need to give you a job here because I reckon you're just going to hang out in this shop anyway. And he was totally right. I'm like, yeah, I'll just hang out in your storeroom if you don't give me a job. So that was great. And I was working part-time. And then I went into corporate events, and that was a position I found just through an RMIT networking night. And I was there 4 years, I think. And that was 3D designing and project managing trade show stands and just traveling around and building those for events. So I did that, and then made the jump back to Adelaide. worked in a similar role in Adelaide, but I actually didn't have, there's a few kind of jobs in between there where I was bouncing around, not really knowing what I was doing. And then only this year, I decided to go full-time with my art, and that was mainly due to an illness. So I was working in corporate events in Adelaide, and then COVID hit, obviously, and that was, not great for the events industry. So we had a full calendar, and then overnight, bam, see you later, 0 events for the entire year. Stood down for 10 weeks, and that was really, really uncertain times for everyone and pretty scary. So I really threw myself into my art in the 10 weeks, and I'd always done art part-time and sold work casually to friends and family, but never really thought of doing it as a career as such. And then I got diagnosed with, I had a lump on the side of my neck that I found when I was just at the gym one day. I'm like, oh, what is that? And I didn't really think anything of it, thought maybe a swollen lymph node or something. Went to see a doctor, and he freaked out and said, you need blood tests and scans now. And that kind of scared me. So I got those done, and then one thing led to another: surgery, half my thyroid removed and the lump removed, and it came back. It was cancerous. Found that out on Christmas Eve of 2020. So I was like, Christmas. Thanks for that. Yeah. But I guess, I don't know, I've always been the optimist in every way possible. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to say the word that I said straight after when the surgeon told me it was cancerous, but it started with an F, and went for a
You're always welcome to swear on this podcast. Don't you worry.
Oh, good. I'm a bit of a swearer. So he, told me it was cancer, and I was like, okay, so it's out. It's out. What now? What can we do? It's just scans every 6 months. I'm on medication every day of my life, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. And just got to monitor my energy levels. And that was the main thing. When work went back, I was just under so much stress, and heaps of people had left. And I was like, I just don't think I can sustain this kind of level of stress and high energy. And I think I'm naturally someone that, I guess, appears to be fine on the outside, because I've always just had a bit of a mask on, like, oh, I'm so happy, blah, 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 but maybe I'm actually feeling really fatigued and tired, but I don't know how to show it. So I had trouble really kind of saying, hey, I need to take a step back. So I just felt like I didn't want to do it anymore. And the pull for my art and doing my own thing was so strong that I handed in my resignation at the start of the year. And it wasn't my intention to go full-time with my art. I was thinking, I'll get another job somewhere else, maybe 3 days a week, and then I can do art on the other days. We'll just see how that goes. And then I was applying for jobs, and just everything felt gross. I didn't want to work anywhere. It's like I just didn't care about any other business other than my own. Like, I actually and I just felt like something was kind of wrong with me. I was thinking, have I just burnt out and I need to suck it up and just get something? But it just felt wrong. And then I thought, if I put the same energy as I am applying for jobs I don't want into my own business, what will happen then? And I don't have anything to lose. So let's just do it. So that's really my kind of long-winded story of how I came about to be an artist right now. And it was, more just thinking, we have one life that we know of, and let's just do it.
I think that was perfectly winded and such an incredible journey. And I just can imagine that time having, and I hope I got this right, but having moved and then gone through a few jobs already, and then kind of keeping up art practice on the side, and then having this health scare and having to make this decision. I mean, if that was happening all over a short period of time, it must have just felt like a huge upheaval.
Oh, when people say their 2020 sucked, I was like, oh, I can top that. Not that I'm trying to, but it was not ideal. And at the same time, so many people didn't even know what was happening with me because I didn't really share it. And I seemed like I was fine. And I share stuff on stories on social media quite a lot. And I'm dancing around and looking like I'm having the time of my life. And I'd I really struggled sort of taking that mask off and showing people the real me, I suppose, and showing without getting too like depressive and taking away from, I guess, what my art practice and my business was about. I was like, how do I find this balance with saying, okay, this is actually what's happened to me. I'm not great, but I'm also this as well. So it was, it was kind of showing all these different parts of me that I really struggled with, but I'm getting way more comfortable with now.
Such an interesting point in that when you embed what you do in a little bit of who you are, being anything other than that thing, you know, there's a business projection. It's one part of us. We're so multifaceted in different areas, but it is hard to show up authentically when you just happen to not be in that vibe or happen to not be in that headspace. I used to have that experience quite a bit when I would teach yoga. There's one part of my personality that would project being present and taking this time to be there for yourself and just doing whatever fits and just being here, when my head was like, woo, I'm over here and I'm super distracted or stressed or a little bit grumpy and just not really in the mood to be around people, and then having to like show up and be like, yeah, community, love. So, you know, I understand it's really hard to show up a certain way.
And I think something that really helped me was thinking like separating myself from me as a business person to say like, yes, I'm a whole person. I naturally wear like a lot of color and I'm quite, I guess, a vibrant personality anyway. So I'm quite like my brand and I suppose like my artwork, but I don't have to be that all the time. And also being that for me, not for anybody else. Yeah. If that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So keep me in that space where you were sort of, I find this part of your story really interesting, that feeling of applying for roles and just feeling like I cannot do this. I read something a little while ago that a wonderful girl had said she's essentially rendered herself unemployable, and I was like, oh my god, that's so me. Not in that people don't want to employ you, in that you kind of suck at being an employee because you just don't enjoy it and you can't really quote unquote play the game anymore, and it has to have deep meaning. It has to have something more than just doing a job and pleasing people. I imagine that you were feeling that very early stage of, I don't know if I'm meant to be doing this and I don't know how to explain why not.
Yeah, it just felt so wrong for me too. It felt like I was giving up on myself. So I am someone that when I work for someone, I give everything and more. And it was more like if I did that and I worked for a place I didn't really believe in, I would just be giving up myself for something I didn't believe in, almost like pretending like I cared about their business when I probably didn't. And then I would be so exhausted and have no time for what I actually wanted to do. So it was more like I was scared I would put so much into another business and then not have anything for myself. So yeah, it's not like I think I wouldn't be a good employee. I think I'm a great one, and I'm almost to my own detriment. I put too much in and I say yes to everything. And then all of a sudden I realize I'm doing my job and 3 other people's jobs, also running 3 social media accounts and helping that person and helping that person, and just completely scattered. And I was just afraid of that happening again. So yeah, that's really where I was at. And applying for these 3-day-a-week kind of things, I'm like, oh, everything just seemed really wishy-washy. Like they didn't really want you. They're like, oh, we have to fill this role, so we're going to give you these hours. And yeah, so I was like, the full-time ones sound a lot better. Like if you read the descriptions, they actually want you. But I didn't want it. I didn't want them, and I was repelling them. So when I was applying, I was like, I'm just putting all the negative energy out there. And then I'd be like, oh, damn, I didn't get an interview. Oh, no. And I'm like, well, I didn't want it anyways. I remember having a discussion with my partner, and it was like, I was looking for permission from him to tell me I didn't have to try and look for work. I was like, why am I trying to seek? Because I didn't want to put that pressure on him to have to like provide for me or anything like that. And I felt like such a burden. So I was looking for him to be like, hey, it's fine for you to give your own thing a go. But he's supportive no matter what I do. He wouldn't care if I laid in bed all day and was like, I'm not going to do anything. He would like cheer that on. He's always, rest. And I'm like, go, I can't rest. So
I can relate to this. I have one of those lovely humans myself.
Oh,
I think what you tap into there about seeking permission from somebody that it's okay to invest in yourself in that way, no matter who that person is, if it's a partner or a parent. I think a lot of us always find that with our parents, seeking their approval to do something a little bit outside of what a societal norm might look like. It's something interesting, I think, that a lot of people would do, because there's something presumably, and I think this comes from ourselves as humans, there's something presumably egoic about doing your own business and kind of backing yourself in that way. And I think it's a real positive thing that you're going, yes, I'm investing in you, human, me, the inside. I'm investing in you because I think you can do this. And but when you project that out, you're kind of like, oh, don't see me, everybody. Don't think that I'm up myself for backing that I can do this, that I've got this talent, that I've got this passion. It's a funny push-pull and a very interesting topic to touch on and to hear from someone else.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I was so fearful of success. And I think, everyone's like, oh, if you're fear of failure. I'm like, no, like they're kind of the same thing, actually. So I think there's a quote, I can't remember who it's by, but it's saying that you're not afraid of failure. You're fearful of success. Like you're fearful, you're powerful beyond measure. I don't know the exact quote, but I've always had this innate, I'll find the exact quote. It was really good. My life coach quote this on a lot. So I just have this burning kind of passion in me that I'm like, I know that I can do something huge, and whether that's a really large mural, like it doesn't have to be anything. It's just being who I am, I know is kind of enough now. But I've always been really, really fearful of doing really great things. And I was like, isn't that weird? Isn't that so weird? And I think it's the tall poppy syndrome with definitely in Australia. You're up yourself, like, what are you doing? La, la, la. Like, why do you think you're so good? Like, what is that? Honestly, we need to change that narrative. It's just, it's so limiting. And I think, generations to come, like, well, I don't know now with social media, they think they're all pretty good. So I think it's gone like the other way now. we need to calm them down and meet in the middle somewhere. We will get well-balanced humans one day. Maybe not in our lifetime, but
I think there's a beautiful woman that I had a conversation with a few weeks ago that said, it's so important for us all individually to find our power and our balance and be the best version of ourselves, because if we concentrate on developing ourselves and doing what feels right for us, it encourages others to do the same, and it just stops all of the negativity towards each other, because we're all focused on ourselves and how we can develop to be the best version.
Absolutely. And I heard that one. It was Mary, wasn't it? I love
that you listened to that.
Oh, she's epic. Yeah, just if everyone worked on themselves, like I'm such an advocate for mental health, just helping yourself, see a psychologist, seek help. There shouldn't be that shame around doing that. And if we all were more introspective and really worked on ourselves, how great would that be?
I completely agree with you. Take me back to that time. So you've been applying for the part-time roles, not really feeling it. You're kind of like, oh, am I going to do this? I'm seeking permission. Tell me about the moment that you decided, yes, I'm going to build something. I'm going to create a business. And tell me what happened next.
Yeah, wow. I guess the pivotal point for me was, having that conversation with my partner and realizing that he just wants me to be happy, and also just getting over what other people were thinking of me. And once you realize no one actually really cares, they're all too involved in themselves. I think a good reflection is think about the dudes at the gym that are working out, that are just like looking at themselves in the mirror. That's pretty much everyone. Like that, we're all that, so focused on ourselves. So I think I was really in such an ego space that I had to let that go and go, oh, I don't really matter that much. I matter to me, but other people are in their own lane. It doesn't matter what they think. And also understanding that my parents are so supportive of any creative venture I want to do. I think they believe in me more than I believe in me. And knowing that they were, supportive and just friends, and everyone I feel really backs me more than myself. I'm like, I've got this. I can do this. So I can't think of a real pivotal point because I was always painting and I always had like this body of work, and I had built a website, and I decided to do a creative business course, which was really good. I'm still doing it actually. I was moving very slowly, a glacial pace, because my natural default is to speed through things, be the best student, tick off everything, all that stuff. So I've really tried to go, all right, module 1, let's do this. Module 2 is a website. Module 3, like really pace myself with it. So I think I'm on module 8 and there's 12 modules. So
it's very good progress. Glacial is still movement, right?
Yeah, and it was really great because it has the community globally and we're all doing the same course. So that's been really good. And the lady that organizes it is in America. So that really helped me get a bit of grounding around how to create a creative business, for one, because we want to spend so much time doing the thing. And what I had to realize was, okay, you're pretty much 20% doing the thing and 80% doing all the other stuff, all the admin and the social media and all that the stuff that comes with it. And I just did my tax yesterday. Well,
congratulations.
Collected everything and gave it to the agent because I'm like, I'm not doing this.
That's a big job.
Yeah, it was a pain in my side. So it's really understanding that. I think for me as well, knowing that I don't equate to a dollar value per day. So I had in my head, I've got to earn, in my previous job, I was earning around 280 per day. So I need to make X amount per day. I'm like, that's just stressing me out because that's not attainable. And if I'm going to sell artwork, it's quite a slow burn.
Yeah.
It's a big investment for people. And I don't expect people to just jump on my website and write, all right, drop $1,000. Yeah, I'm going to buy that piece of art. There's a lot of trust that you have to build with a customer for them to actually purchase. So I guess knowing that I don't equate to a dollar value, it's going to take a long time to build, and just giving myself that time to go, all right, I made $1 in my business. That's pretty cool. Awesome. All right, next dollar. And just making it really small and manageable made it really easy for me to go, all right, I think I've got this. And also hearing your podcast just helped me massively, going, there's all these people that are just doing the crazy thing like me. And, so good.
It's so important to create that sense of community for ourselves. I think it can be so isolating when you go on a journey to create anything.
Yeah.
Particularly, I find when you go after one thing and it's this, and you've got that in your head and you're going after it, and then you want to pivot and you want to change, and then you kind of have to go after it. It's really important to find as many people, find your community, find your support system that makes you feel safe, normal, and like you can just ebb and flow through this process as many times as you need to. Have good days, have bad days. It never really gets messy. It's just constantly messy through it. So I think community is really important. That course sounds fantastic that you're doing. I think there's so many things like that we can invest in. And you mentioned a life coach before, which I think is just wonderful. Tell me a little bit about bringing that into your journey and how it's affected your business.
So she's great. Erica Kramer, you may have heard of her, the Queen of Confidence. She's a legend.
Yes, I follow her.
She's so good. I just did a retreat with her and her husband Hamish, and it was life-changing. I feel it's been a month on Saturday. A month today since I was there, and it was just in this little cocoon. It felt like such a long time that we were on this retreat for, but it was 5 days, but it felt like 5 weeks. But it was amazing. It was so good. So I started coaching with her in 2020, just after I found the lump, actually, because I needed some kind of support, and I had been listening to her podcast, and I just love how real she is. She just records it. Well, she used to record her podcast just in her car. You'd hear her e-tag beep and her kids in the back seat. And it's just so like, she just made me realize she's a really big contributor as to why I do what I do now, actually. Just to know that you don't have to have everything perfect, and you can just do anything because you want to. And I think that really changed how I looked at a lot of things. I have massive perfectionist tendencies and still trying to sort of fight those away. And just knowing that she's just doing it. She just started a business and she's killing it, and it's so good. So she has a group called the Sisterhood, which is global, And we all have coaching calls once a month, and it's via Zoom. And she does a thing called a hot seat coach. So talking like you and I, just about what's happening in your life, if you have any, problems or any childhood stuff that you wouldn't like. It's basically counseling pretty much. And it's just so good. And to do that in a community and to have all these people witness you, I just feel like I've made 600 friends across the world from this group. And you could be anywhere and you know that there's someone from the sisterhood in that part of the world, which is just amazing. She has immersion days where you go and just meet everyone, and it's just so good. And there's this connection that I just haven't felt with any other women in my life before. There's things I hadn't shared with my closest friends that I have shared with these women, and it's just really beautiful. Erica is just a gem. Yeah. Can't thank her enough for just being her and creating what she's created.
Community is such an important part of this journey, is just finding the people. I mean, it sounds like that might have been a fairly sizable investment from what I've seen from coaching and things like that. It's an investment, it's a financial commitment, but
absolutely.
The return.
And that was tough for me to think, I've never been one to really invest in myself. And that was really the first big investment that I've gone, I need this for me. And I know that it will help me. And it has, it's put me on a completely different trajectory than I thought. I don't think I would be with the partner I'm with now if I hadn't worked on myself. He wouldn't have seen me. He'd be like, gosh, who's this girl? But I've actually started working on myself, and it's not easy, but just to know that I'm a bit better, I guess. Isn't that what we all want? And just to kind of be a bit more aware of some of the bullshit stories we've been telling ourselves and carrying through our lives. It's helped me so much. So yeah,
that's brilliant. And it sounds a little bit like the community that you've pulled together around you as well are kind of like-minded in that creative sense, because I think sometimes when we go into these, I guess, more creative businesses, or, even calling ourselves a business person or creating a business, we have a little bit of a picture in our mind about what that should or shouldn't look like. So, you touch a little bit on there about how 20% of your life is actually creating art, and then 80% is all the other shit that comes in around that develops into your art. So I think that's just a really interesting area to touch on, the expectation of what a business is or should look like, from a planning to an execution stage to a goal setting stage to a success by way of income stage. I think that's an interesting thing to reflect on. So maybe you could tell me a little bit about how you approached turning your art, what was already pre-existing, what was kind of happening there, into a little bit more of a business that, helps you establish what that 80-20 split is and helps sustain you.
So I really think the biggest thing for me was to diversify and not just rely on selling artwork, and to know that I have all these other skills that I can harness, and I can teach, and I can show people how I create my work and the process and all that kind of stuff. And just to know that there's so many other avenues, and you don't have to just do that one thing. And I think I'd get really bored. If I was just stuck in my studio all day painting, I would be like, oh, this is boring. And I think that's why I'm on social media so much, on stories especially. I feel like I have company. And it might seem a bit weird for people, but I'm talking to people and then they're interacting with me and they're writing, and it makes it really interesting and interactive for me. So just knowing that I don't have to rely on that one thing. And I started teaching intuitive art classes out of my home studio, and that was really good. I put them on hold for the rest of the year because I'm now doing murals, which is another thing that I was like, oh, I didn't know I could do that, but why not just give it a go? So I think I've just reached a point where if I'm interested in something, I'll just go, why not? What have I got to lose? And all the business stuff, I know how to build a website. Well, I don't know how to build a website from scratch. I did coding in uni, but that was awful. But, Squarespace, there's so many tools out there to help you do the thing, like to courses and YouTube. And my poor partner, who I'm just asking questions left, right and center, he's like tech support for everything. So just to really know that there's people out there that want to help you and to support you, and to know that you're not alone in any of this. Yes, there may be new things that, for a podcasts are relatively new, for example, so figuring out how to do all that. But then there's people that are doing it and that will help you. So I think just removing that burden of the business just being me was a really big big one to kind of shift. I'm not sure if that answered the question actually.
No, it's just such a great point about not necessarily having to know everything to be able to get started. It sucks a little bit. It's a bit painful having to learn some of this stuff or figure out who can help. Once you get past that, it's like, okay, the next thing it's always just
I'm trying to always look for shortcuts. Like, honestly, if I have to Google something or it doesn't come up in the first page, I'm like, no, can't find the answer. Like, it doesn't exist. It's not there. So I think I have about a 5-minute search span for any problem, which is not good. And it's a real big lesson for me. Patience is a massive, massive thing that I've had to get comfortable with. I'm not a very patient person, but in starting a business, you have to be. You can't expect to make $1 million overnight. There's just been so many lessons in such a short amount of time. So I've really only been doing this full time for 6 months, and just knowing that everything, I guess, supposedly negative that happens is a lesson, and what can you take from that and how can you apply that next time around?
Tell me about how the murals came to pass.
Yeah, well, I have always been very, very interested in street art. I remember my teenage years, my mum would take me to Melbourne for trips to look at Hoosier Lane, and we'd just go around and like looking at street art. Absolutely loved it, but always thought it was very masculine and very, oh, that's not for me. I'm not cool enough. I don't know. I just had this like stereotypical what a street artist looks like. And I'm like, I don't know if I fit that model. And I think just being on Instagram and following all these different people and just knowing that there's so many different types of people out there, and mural art being a form of art, not necessarily like graffiti street art, I was thinking, oh my God, I can totally do that. I can paint a canvas, I can paint a wall. Why not? Let's just go large scale. So my beautiful dad let me have a wall in his home, which is so, so lovely. So it's a big 4 meter by 4 meter. It's pretty much a square. It has a door in the middle wall. And he went away to Perth for a week. So I was like, perfect opportunity to paint a wall. So I'd done a concept on Procreate, run it past him, been like, are you happy with this? He liked it. And then I just went for it, and it turned out really well, better than I thought. And it only took me 3 days, but it was because I was working quite late and I was just really into it. And there were hours and hours that passed and I didn't even know because I was so into it. And I came up with a bit of a formula how I was going to go about it. And it seemed not too crazy hard. I'm like, okay, this is all right. But doing all different surfaces and exterior and getting scissor lifts and all that, like those silo ones, I hope I could do one day, but I just don't know. It just felt like it opened up a whole new world for me. So it was really just doing that one at my dad's place that I'm like, all right, I'll just put it out there. So I just put a little ad on Facebook, like a community page saying, hey, I just want to build my folio. I'm an artist. This is what I've done. And I had so many inquiries and I was out quoting so many, just mainly residential murals around Adelaide. And I was like, gosh, I think there's a bit of a market for this. People really want a mural in their home. And I think maybe they've just had like a boring wall or shed in their backyard that they've gone, oh, this girl does that. And they didn't really know how to approach an artist or have never really thought about it. So that was really the theme when I was meeting these people. They were like, I just wouldn't have even thought of how to go about this, because they're like, I know lots of artists, but I don't know if they paint murals. And I've had a few jobs come about with that. And I had my first exterior mural last week, which was around a swimming pool, which was really great. And the family was so lovely. They actually asked me if I do babysitting afterwards because the kids loved me. So I'm like, oh, so cute. I'm like, maybe. So yeah, that was really lovely. And I have another one next week that I'm doing another exterior mural. So just kind of going around and putting it out there and seeing if there's the demand. And there definitely is the demand. It's more like prioritizing. People have said, yes, they want it, but I've just got this thing come up. So maybe we'll put that off till next year. So there's just, and I know it's a luxury. Art is a luxury, and I don't expect people to drop everything and be like, no, the mural's way more important than my leaky roof. Like, fix your leaky roof. Like, I totally get it. It's fine. But just knowing that that's a really good earner, and it gets me out and about, and it harnesses all the things that because I've come from a sales background as well. So it really helps me just be interacting with people and coming to a design solution for them that's going to work for their home. And it's just kind of encapsulating all the things that I love, because I love styling, I love interior design. I probably should have done interior design, if I'm perfectly honest, but I just love all those things. So it just feels like it's opened up so many doors that I just didn't even really know were there.
I think it's a really interesting lesson, or it's something that we don't really realize could happen in our wildest dreams. Some of the things that will come through the door, some of the opportunities that will happen when you just expose yourself to what can come in. I imagine that the Tessa that was sitting there starting this, okay, I'm going to go full time, just I'm going to stop applying for jobs, didn't imagine at that stage that the idea would come in, that the response would come in, that you'd be out doing that at some stage. And I think it's a great reminder that, what is it, always never part of the plan, always part of the path. There's something, a saying that sort of follows me around a little bit, is that just move a rock, see what's under a rock, keep going, keep trying things. It doesn't really matter if it's not what you expected. It could be far better than your wildest dreams. I think that's really exciting.
Just do what feels right, I think, or feels good for you, not right. I don't like right and wrong, but and I think that's the thing. I'm like, yep, this feels like a really good thing in my body. I feel like I would do a good job at it, but it would also fulfill me massively. So that's really how I've made decisions in my business, is that, really tapping into what feels good.
And is there any more important driver than what feels good to you on a day-to-day? I mean, what do you wish you knew, Tessa, before you took the plunge into making this your career?
I always think I wish I did it sooner, but at the same time, I'm like, well, the time wasn't right, and I needed to learn all these things to be where I'm at now. So I think I'm exactly where I need to be, and to be okay with that, and just say, all right, I'm where I am now, and just to be comfortable with that. So I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's anything, I guess, to know that, again, like, people don't care. People were so supportive of you, and to really not care what other people think. And that was a big shift for me as soon as I realized that, and that I am the driver. No one else is telling me where to go. I don't know, again, if I answered the question.
It's absolutely perfect. And is there something that is on your mind about what might be next? I mean, I feel very blessed to have caught you in this part of your journey, because as you say, you're 6 months in at this stage, and you're starting to fly, you're starting to diversify, you're starting to see where things can go. It's feeling a bit more real. So I'm excited to hear about any plans for the future, or what you think might be next.
Yeah, so I would like to do more murals and to take on more big council jobs. And I think for me, doing the residential ones is really to build up my confidence in knowing how to paint on different surfaces, just to be around different clients. You might have one that wants to sit and watch you all day, and you're like, all right, no worries. But you could be in a park and you've got old mate Bob sitting in the corner watching you. You've got to be okay with that, and just to go, all right, cool. So I think, just to get out there more and just do more public art is where I see myself going. I don't know how I'm going to go with summer. I've got very porcelain skin, so I'm going to have to SPF it up massively. And I'm starting a podcast as well. So that's really exciting with my mate Jen. She's also a mural artist in Adelaide. So she's been a really, really great support for me, kind of getting out there as well. Just, little tips and tricks over just chatting and saying, like, what brushes do you use, what paint, like all this kind of stuff, that she's just gone, this, do this, don't do this. It's been really, really helpful just to have someone, and really potentially competition when you think about it. Like, we're both potentially competing for the same jobs, but so supportive. And I love how supportive she has been of my journey. And we again met through Instagram, and we live around the corner from each other. What do you know? So it's just funny how your paths cross. So we're starting a podcast, which is amazing. And I think it's just more connecting with people. So another artist friend of mine, we're going to arrange meetups once a month for artists groups in Adelaide, just supporting each other and really putting a bit of a stand for like, don't do free art, don't do free work for people, because that's something that I'm really, really, I guess, passionate about not doing, is the whole exposure card. Like, oh, you know, you'll get exposure from this, so we don't need to pay you. And I think that really, really needs to change. So I'm really wanting to create, I guess, a bit of a union, really, like an artist union of us coming together, sharing what jobs might be out there. If we can collaborate, if there's murals that you need a couple of painters, let's all get together and know that there is a community, you're not isolated. Because I think a lot of the time when you're in your studio, and if you're predominantly a painter, you are just in a studio. And I would love to, I will actually, I'm not going to say I want to, I will create a collaborative space that I want a retail section as well that will promote local artists, but then also the artists can actually create in the space as well. So yeah, I'm thinking of that, to do that in Adelaide Hills in the future. In my head, I've got so many mood boards of what I think it will look like. And I've got this affinity with triangles. So I've got like this big triangular kind of roof with light coming through. And I think I'll have to get my sister's interior architect, all the things actually. She's very, very talented. I'm like, I think she needs to design it for me. I'll do a little sketch and be like, this is what I want one day. So yeah, I'm just going to have to make heaps of money, and then that will happen. I'm just excited. I love getting up. Every Monday is amazing. And I previously it'd be like, oh, Monday. And I really like that. Every day is exciting. It doesn't really feel like work.
It's a completely different way to look at it, isn't it? You can approach this element of unknown as scary. And I'm sure there's moments where it's financially scary. You think about what's kind of when's is coming, and that is it's a very real reality to exploring things. But I bet you never imagined that the murals would take off as well as they are. And knowing, you know, we can always, hey, whatever we do, we can always go back and find work if we need to, and find something to supplement to keep the dream going. But you've got to have those dreams, you've got to have those visions about where it can go. I think that's fantastic, and I love the community that you're building around you that's motivating you. And there's such a fantastic lesson in there about partnering up with somebody who is essentially in the same field as you and being like, how can we help each other? I had a wonderful guest on a little while ago, Alicia from the Social Impact Company, and she told a great story about that, finding someone that was in her field to be able to partner up. And you and I have already spoken about that. I'll come on your podcast, I'll promote your podcast. We've got to do that for each other. There is more than enough audience, money, opportunity for everybody in this world, and you just have to do what's uniquely right for you. One more question for you, Tessa. As we said, community, most important thing, supporting each other. So how can the listener and I support you on your journey right now?
Amazing. You can follow me on Instagram. So it's at Tessa Marie Art. I'm not sure if there's dots in between each word. I think there might be. So tessa.marie.art. And check out what I do. Watch my stories. I'm very active on stories, quite energetic. I sometimes do a bit of a live in my studio and paint in there and show you the whole process. I dance around a lot and just take you on a bit of a journey with me. And I guess I'm so fresh starting this as a new business. So any support is absolutely, so appreciated. I just love the community on there. And you can check out my website as well if you want. But the Insta's where it's at really at the moment. So that would be amazing. Thank you.
I'll make sure to put all of those links in the show notes so that the listener can get around you. And you really do show up so wonderfully and energetically on stories. It's something that I just admire it so much because you've got so much fantastic energy and you're so generous in sharing it around as you have been today. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast to share with us your journey, where you are, your dreams for the future, all of the things. And just thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you so much. I've had a blast. It wasn't scary at all. What was I scared of?
Exactly. This is what I say. Hey, somebody said to me once, if something feels scary, it's just because it's also exciting and it's unknown. So if we can just
it's actually the same feeling in the body, apparently.
Exactly.
You can trick yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. So we just have to lean into the scariness and get around it. Being afraid is not a dirty word.
Thank
Thank you for listening to Unemployed and Afraid, the stories of starting over with your host, me, Kim Curtin. If you liked the episode and are keen to hear more, please hit the follow button and leave a review. And let's keep the conversation going on Instagram at Unemployed and Afraid, where there's more goodies and links to today's show notes. See you there.